The impetus for this report was massive demand from countries such as Japan and Korea to explore how Australia can play a key role in catering to their huge demand for hydrogen. And Australia is really in a perfect position to emerge as an export powerhouse, servicing those key Indo Pacific markets. To realise this opportunity, Australia needs to do a few things. Basically, we need to support domestic industry to develop green hydrogen projects in a quicker fashion that is currently happening. And we need to create a high level of international cooperation to develop the infrastructure, standards, and other mechanisms that are necessary to realize the hydrogen market development opportunity. So hydrogen is important because obviously we're in a climate crisis at the moment, and we need to see a much greater uptake of renewable energy around the world. Hydrogen has several advantages over renewable energy via direct electrification using renewable energy, because you can't use renewable energy in a lot of applications where hydrogen unlocks its potential. So that's in long distance transportation, in overcoming intermittency issues, in power generation, for example. Hydrogen also allows you to export renewable energy more readily. So for a country like Australia, which has ample renewable energy resources, it provides an opportunity to get that renewable energy to key export markets. I think Western Australians in particular should care about hydrogen because we have a very heavily fossil fuel dependent economy, and our trade and investment networks have been built up on these very carbon intensive industries such as LNG or iron ore. In the east coast of Australia you have more coal, but here it's LNG and iron ore. And without the introduction of hydrogen as a key export opportunity, we face a really uncertain future in terms of the economic relationships we've built up in our region. The key role that hydrogen has for Australia is basically allowing us to continue what was our previous relationships with countries such as Japan and Korea, who we have built up economic relationships based on resources trade. And those resources that we previously traded with these countries such as coal, iron ore, and LNG face a very uncertain future in a more carbon-constrained future, in a more carbon-constrained economy. So hydrogen, by exporting hydrogen to these countries, we'll be able to maintain our economic relationships with these countries, and we'll also be able to maintain our diplomatic relationships that are based on those economic relationships. So for Australia to recognise or to realise its potential as an export superpower in the Indo Pacific, there's a few things that need to happen, but broadly, governments at all levels, state and federal, need to provide more support to the emerging hydrogen projects that are happening around the country. That can be financial, it can also be policy support, providing mechanisms such as setting targets for how much green hydrogen each state and territory and the country as a whole should be producing over what time periods, and then providing assistance to companies to reach those targets. We also need to improve our levels of international cooperation with other countries, key markets such as Japan and Korea, and even faraway Germany, who are looking to us to provide the exports that will satisfy their demand. We need to make sure that their companies have great relationships with our companies, and that the policy settings that are put in place make it possible for us to provide the hydrogen that they need.